He disappeared on our son's birthday, raising a glass in his mistress's arms. 3 years later, he had the nerve to stand in front of me and demand a clean divorce, telling me to leave with nothing and give up the child. I responded on the spot by dumping all the evidence of his affair, asset transfers, and illegitimate child into every family group chat, company channel, and social media platform at once. The next day, his phone exploded. His career came to a dead stop. My name is Lynn, and in the private training area of a gym, I saw my husband Lucas with his intern, Tina. Lucas's hand was on Tina's waist, helping her adjust her posture on the machine. His chest was almost pressed against her back. Too close. Close enough that I could see the tips of Tina's ears turning red. Lucas, is this right? Tina's voice was soft and sticky sweet. Perfect. Hold it there. You learn fast, Lucas replied. The same gentle tone I knew so well, only now it sounded sharp in my ears. I walked over. Lucas immediately pulled his hand back. Expression calm. Lynn, what are you doing here? Then he turned to Tina. All business. Tina, this is my wife and the company's vice president. Lynn, this is our new intern. Tina, very promising. Tina smiled at me, but her eyes flicked quickly toward Lucas. Vice President Lynn, Mr. Lucas talks about how capable you are all the time. Talks about me? Here? My stomach twisted. I nodded and said nothing. The physical boundary had been crossed. The words were suggestive, but Lucas reacted so quickly, so smoothly. It almost made it seem like I was overthinking. That night, Lucas was unusually tender. He cooked dinner, poured red wine, draped an arm around my shoulders. About the gym today, don't overthink it. I was just helping a new hire. Normal workplace interaction. He kissed my forehead. You know there's only you in my heart. I gently pushed him away. Just helping? Of course. He smiled, like he was soothing a child. You're too sensitive. Sweetheart. Sensitive? Maybe. But my fingers slid across the tablet screen as I pulled up the intern bonus approval system. I found Tina Moore's profile and clicked pause on her quarterly bonus. Reason, performance under review. Power unused is just decoration. I needed her to understand who was in charge. Lucas saw it. He didn't get angry, he got even gentler. Fine. Pause it. Whatever makes you happy. She's just an intern. He pulled me into his arms and kissed away every remaining doubt. I relaxed. It seemed like nothing more than a minor friction. He still cared about my feelings. I was wrong. Completely wrong. I didn't know then that Lucas's tenderness was poison, that Tina's smugness was hidden behind her eyes. To them, my paused bonus approval was a successful test of power. They crossed the line, and I didn't cut off the foot that stepped over it, I only tapped it lightly. On the surface, everything looked intact. My career was thriving. I was a company vice president. Lucas treated me considerately. Everything looked fine. It was all fake. The internal structure had already begun to crack and collapse, and I was still standing on the rubble, mistaking it for a fortress. A week later, Lucas took the initiative. Lynn, the biggest client of the year, the Jackson Group, you handle it. We'll go to that rooftop restaurant in Manhattan. Highest standard. Show them we're serious. I was surprised. He had always handled this client himself. You want me to go? You're better than me. And you're the VP, it's time you took full charge. His eyes were sincere. I've arranged everything. The restaurant, the menu, the wine. You just go and show your professionalism. This contract has to be signed. I believed him. I was even a little moved. I thought he was paving the way for me. Before the dinner, Lucas called, sounding anxious. Sorry, Lynn. I've got an urgent online meeting and can't get away. You go first, I'll try to make it over. I went alone. The restaurant had a panoramic night view, lavish decor. 3 people from the client side arrived. The lead, David, kept openly sizing me up. Toast after toast. MS. Lynn, beautiful and capable, David said, raising his glass, his hand brushing mine on purpose. Too kind, Mr. David. Let's focus on the project. I replied with a smile, swallowing my disgust. We went back and forth on the contract terms. I forced myself to stay sharp, fully professional. David kept steering the conversation away. No rush. Let's enjoy the food. MS. Lynn, Someone as talented as you, why work so hard? Some resources women can't obtain on their own. I understood the implication. I pretended not to. The food was outrageously expensive. The wine even more so. The restaurant was far beyond normal business entertainment, but Lucas had said it was arranged. For the contract. I endured it. Finally, David relented. All right. We'll go with your terms. I exhaled in relief and prepared to pay. I handed over the company card. The server returned quickly. Polite but uncomfortable. Ma'am, this card has insufficient balance. I froze. Impossible. This was an executive corporate card. The limit could cover 10 dinners like this. Just a moment. I calmly pulled out another card, a black supplementary card from my family trust. The primary card belonged to my father. The server left again. My heartbeat began to accelerate. He returned. Expression even stranger. Ma'am, this card has been frozen. The bank says it was done by the primary cardholder. A loud buzzing filled my head. The primary cardholder? My father? Impossible. He never interfered. The only possibility was Lucas. But how could he touch my family's card? David exchanged a look with his companions. I knew that look: amusement, assessment, contempt. The restaurant fell quiet. Guests at nearby tables began glancing over. My face burned, but I kept my back straight. There may be a technical issue. Ms. Lynn. David interrupted, his smile fading. It seems your company's payment system, like your project, is a bit uncertain. Let's discuss the contract another day. Another day. Which meant, it was dead. Humiliation isn't loud. It's cold. Silent. A polite dismissal. In the most expensive restaurant in Manhattan. I failed to pay the bill, and destroyed the company's most important deal. My dignity shattered. Just like that frozen card. At that moment, the private room door opened. A crisp, cheerful voice rang out. Oh my, looks like Vice President Lynn has run into some trouble? Don't worry. I've got this one. Tina Moore walked in, arm-linked with a female friend, like she was on a runway. In her hand was a black card. Under the lights, Tina's card gleamed coldly. An American Express Centurion. A toy for the ultra-rich. Lucas had a primary card. I once had a supplementary one. It had just been frozen. Now, that card was in Tina's hand. She walked up to the server and casually handed it over. Run this one. The pin is Lucas's birthday. She said it deliberately loud. In an instant, David and the others shifted their gaze from me, the VP who couldn't pay the bill, to Tina, the young woman holding a black card. Tina turned to me, her smile sweet and cruel at the same time. Lynn, don't take it personally. Lucas said his money is my money. Seeing you stuck like this, I just helped out. Every head turned. That sentence landed like a slap across my face. What do you mean? I stared at her. What I mean is, Tina stepped closer. Her voice dropped. Meant only for me, yet still loud enough for those nearby to hear. The position and resources you got by relying on a man? They're mine now. Lucas thinks I know how to use them better than you do. The look in David's eyes changed completely, flattery toward the new favorite, pity toward the discarded one. Tina Moore. My voice shook. You're just an intern. Not for long. She lifted her chin. Lucas is giving me a new position, direct liaison for the Jackson Group. Oh, that's your project, Mr. Davids. What you can't handle, I can. It was humiliation, public, naked, deliberate. I was shaking with rage, reaching for my wine glass, when a man who looked like a client manager gently stopped me. Vice President Lynn, please, stay calm. Don't make a scene. A scene? My card was frozen. My husband had handed money to his mistress. She had walked in just to humiliate me, but if I lashed out, I'd only look worse. Just as I was about to lose control, a familiar voice came from the doorway. Wow, lively in here? Lucas walked in, impeccably dressed, utterly composed. He didn't even look at me. He went straight to Tina and naturally wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Lucas held Tina the way one holds a prized possession. He turned to David, sounding apologetic, almost helpless. Sorry you had to see this, David. Just some family business. Lynn hasn't been in the best state lately, probably not suited to handle something this important. From now on, all Jackson Group matters will go directly through Tina. She's young, driven, more efficient. Efficient? Family business? In front of everyone, using the calm language of corporate logic, he announced my removal and Tina's promotion. He even slapped the label unstable on me as a bonus. David immediately smiled. Of course. We trust your judgment, Mr. Carter. Miss Tina certainly looks capable. Every gaze stabbed into me like needles. I had gone from vice president to unstable wife. A liability. Someone to be handled. Marginalized. Completely. I looked at him, my husband, the man I had built the company with, survived the hardest years with. Lucas. Do you remember? Our first office was barely 100 square feet. We lived on instant noodles for a month. I was trying to wake something. Anything. Even a trace of feeling. Lucas frowned, as if looking at a stranger causing trouble. Lynn, what's the point of bringing that up now? Business is war, the capable rise. Your recent performance has genuinely disappointed me. Disappointed? He wasn't just denying my work. He was erasing our entire past. Tina leaned into his chest, unable to hide her victorious smile. Lucas swept his gaze around the room, past the uncomfortable clients, and finally landed on my bloodless face. He paused, then delivered something even colder. Since everyone's here today, Lynn, you caused a serious incident and embarrassed the company. As CEO, I have to address it. You tell me, how should you take responsibility to restore the company's reputation? He wanted me to confess in public and propose my own punishment. The humiliation escalated. The room's temperature dropped to freezing. Take responsibility? Restore reputation? My voice trembled. Lucas, you're the one who sent me here. The cards were your, I'll investigate the card issue. He cut in coldly. But right now, you ruined the client dinner. Mr. David is still here watching. Lynn, when you make a mistake, you own it. That's a business principle you taught me. Principle? He used my own words to dig the pit beneath my feet. Tina added smoothly, fanning the flames. Lucas, let it go. Maybe Lynn was just confused for a moment. But since Mr. David and the others are here, how about Lynn offers everyone a toast and an apology? At least that would smooth things over. A toast? An apology? Like a hostess pouring drinks? David and the others exchanged glances. No one spoke. There was a flicker of discomfort in one or two eyes, but mostly silence. Watching. Lucas nodded. That works. Lynn, one toast for Mr. David and one for each of the guests. Be sincere. What was I to him now? A peace offering? A bargaining chip to appease clients? I didn't move. My body was ice cold. Don't want to? Lucas's face darkened. Lynn, don't forget, you're not just my wife. You're also an employee. Defying a CEO's order has consequences. If the Jackson project falls through, you'll bear full responsibility. A threat. He tightened his grip around my career, around my throat. I saw a client manager discreetly pull out his phone. Was he recording? If that footage got out, I'd be finished. Fear, real fear, grabbed me for the first time. Not just humiliation, actual danger, alcohol, power, men watching. I had to get help. I looked at the young client who'd shown a hint of sympathy and silently mouthed, "Phone, call the police." He froze, then subtly slid his phone toward the edge of the table. But Lucas saw it. He stepped forward, snatched the phone, shot the man a warning glare, then turned to me, eyes dark. "Lynn, you're being extremely childish." He advanced. I backed up, my legs hitting a chair. This was it. My mental defenses were collapsing. Just as his hand was about to touch me, I don't know where the strength came from, but I lifted my head and shouted a name. 60% of this restaurant's equity belongs to the Carter Family Trust. I locked eyes with Lucas's face as it went stiff, and spoke slowly, clearly. My father, Richard Carter, is the hidden owner of this restaurant and half the properties on this block. Should I make a call and invite the real owner over to see what kind of filthy tactics his son-in-law is using? Silence. Dead silence. David's wineglass slipped from his hand and shattered onto the expensive wool carpet with a sharp crack. The color drained from Lucas's face in an instant. You're talking nonsense. My father, Richard Carter. I straightened, my voice clear enough to reach every corner of the private room. Lucas, do you need me to remind you? Your angel round investor is my father's old friend. Your first major client was introduced by my uncle. The core patented technology your company is using right now is an improved version of my master's thesis, and the IP belongs to a research institute controlled by my father. With every sentence, Lucas's face grew whiter. The smug smile on Tina's face froze completely, like a ridiculous mask. The villa you live in is registered under my mother's name. Your luxury cars were purchased with discounts from the family fund. And that black card you used to impress Tina, I stared straight at him. The repayment account is linked to my father's private bank. No, that's impossible, Tina screamed, pointing at Lucas, completely losing control. You told me she was from an ordinary family. You said she depended on you. He depended on me, I corrected calmly, then looked toward the stunned David and his group. Mr. David, do you still think it's safe to entrust the Jackson Group project to a man who built his success on a woman, then pushed his wife out to take the blame? Or to his mistress, holding a black card funded by my father's money? The balance of power began to swing violently. David's face changed dramatically. He jumped to his feet. Mr. Lucas, what is going on here? Carter? You mean that Carter, the one in media and real estate? Lucas's lips trembled. He tried to speak. Tina completely snapped. She couldn't accept the reversal. You lied to me, Lucas. You're a fraud. She grabbed a wineglass and hurled it at Lucas. He dodged. The glass smashed against the wall. Tina then lunged at me, claws out. This is all your fault, you vicious woman. The room erupted into chaos. At that moment, the door was shoved open. 6 broad-shouldered men in black suits with earpieces flooded in like a wall, instantly separating everyone and restraining the screaming Tina and the fleeing Lucas. The man in front gave me a slight bow. Ms. Lynn, Mr. Richard is on his way. We apologize for the distress. The presence of the bodyguards froze the chaos instantly. Their movements were precise, silent, and oppressive. 2 pinned down the shrieking Tina. 2 blocked Lucas. The remaining 2 positioned themselves at my sides, shielding me from the clients. David and his group retreated to the wall, barely daring to breathe. Who are you? Let go of me, Lucas. Call the police, Tina screamed, hair disheveled, makeup streaked with tears, looking deranged. Lucas's face was ashen, but he was still trying to bluff. Lynn, how dare you have people lay hands on me? I'll tell Dad, tell Mr. Carter. This is kidnapping. Kidnapping? I let out a cold laugh, breathing freely for the first time. Lucas, they're Carter family security advisors. You met their director at our wedding, have you forgotten? They're responsible for the personal safety of family members. What you did just now already constituted a threat to my safety. The lead guard confirmed flatly. Ms. Lynn is correct. Mr. Richard has been alerted and is en route. My father is coming. Despair finally flashed in Lucas's eyes. He suddenly changed tactics, trying to bribe them. Gentlemen, this is a misunderstanding. Family matter. Let me go and I'll give each of you 100,000, no, 1 million, cash. The guards didn't move, not a flicker in their eyes. They were personally selected and trained by my father. They followed only family orders. Lucas's legs gave out. He nearly collapsed to his knees. I walked toward him. The guard shifted slightly to give me space. Staying on alert, Lucas, I said, looking at the man I once loved. The game is over. The door opened again. An elderly man in a tailored dark suit, silver hair meticulously combed, entered slowly, leaning on an ebony cane. His gaze was calm, authoritative without anger. My father, Richard Carter. The moment he entered, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. His eyes went to me first, scanning me from head to toe. Seeing I was unharmed, he gave an almost imperceptible nod. Then he turned to Lucas. That look carried no rage, only cold evaluation, like inspecting a piece of scrap machinery. Lucas, my father said quietly, yet his voice crushed the air. You allowed my daughter to attempt to pay in a Carter-owned establishment with a frozen Carter account. Then you let a woman holding a Carter subsidiary card humiliate her. Finally, you tried to force her to apologize publicly and threatened her personal safety. With every sentence, Lucas trembled. Dad, sir, please listen, this is all a misunderstanding, Lucas babbled. A misunderstanding? My father cut him off. Surveillance audio, security reports, And the eyewitness accounts of these gentlemen. He glanced at David and the others. They immediately lowered their heads. All misunderstandings? He tapped the carpet lightly with his cane. From this moment on, you are no longer my son-in-law. You are a suspect in embezzlement, commercial fraud, and attempted harm against my daughter. Embezzlement, commercial fraud. Lucas looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. David immediately rushed forward, smiling desperately. Mr. Carter. This was entirely Lucas's personal conduct. The Jackson Group had no knowledge whatsoever. We fully support MS. Lynn, we'll sign the contract immediately, on all the terms MS. Lynn negotiated earlier. The others quickly echoed him, eager to distance themselves. Tina collapsed on the floor, eyes unfocused, muttering, "It's over, it's all over." Lucas dropped to his knees with a loud thud and crawled toward my father. "Dad, I was wrong. I really was. Tina seduced me, she pushed me into this. The one I love is Lynn. Please, give me one more chance." My father looked at him with indifference. "Like trash. You've exhausted your chances. My legal and audit teams have already entered your company. You'll be receiving formal documents soon." Then he turned to me, his gaze softening. "Lynn, how would you like to proceed?" All eyes turned to me again. This time, they were eyes waiting for judgment. My father had handed me the final authority. Lucas looked at me with his last shred of hope. Tina lifted her head in terror. I took a deep breath. Did I hate them? Yes. Did I want them dead? No. Death was too cheap, too quick. I would crush them with rules. "First," I said steadily, "call the police. Report Lucas and Tina for attempted harm and harassment. The restaurant surveillance and witnesses are evidence. Let them spend tonight in detention." Lucas's eyes flew wide. "Second," I continued, "immediately freeze all company shares and bank accounts under Lucas's name. Initiate a special board investigation and conduct a full audit of every financial transaction and related party deal during his tenure as CEO. I have reasonable grounds to suspect embezzlement and asset transfers to Tina." "I didn't!" Tina screamed. "Your black card transaction records will prove everything," I said coldly. "Third, submit all evidence I just mentioned, every instance in which he built his business using my family's resources, to the financial regulators and the Commercial Crime Investigation Unit. Focus on false disclosures and investor fraud." "Fourth," I said, looking at Lucas's ashen face, "as both the spouse harmed and on behalf of the company's largest shareholder, my father, I will file for divorce and apply for asset preservation. Every asset you transferred during the marriage, I will recover in full, and I will pursue damages for emotional distress." "Fifth, Mr. David," I turned to him, "as a partner, you witnessed everything today. I expect you and your colleagues to cooperate as witnesses in the subsequent investigations. The Jackson Group contract can be signed, but it must include strict morality clauses and breach of contract liability provisions." David nodded repeatedly. "Absolutely. We'll fully cooperate." Lucas completely collapsed, slumped on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "Lynn, you're ruthless. We were married. Does that mean nothing?" "Nothing?" He hadn't mentioned mercy even once when he was destroying me. "Finally," I said, looking at the trembling Tina Moore, "restrained by security. As an accomplice, you will face the same criminal charges, and I will make sure your alma mater and everyone in your industry knows exactly what you did. Social death is sometimes more painful than prison." I turned to my father. "Dad, that's it. Handle everything according to the law." Approval flickered in his eyes. Decisive, precise, and never crossing the line, that was the Carter way. Lucas and the screaming Tina were escorted out by security. What awaited them were police cars. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hit me. A dull ache pulled at my lower abdomen. My father caught me immediately. "Lynn, Dad. I think I need to go to the hospital," I whispered, a vague suspicion rising in my mind. I woke up in a VIP hospital room, and 4 was taped to the back of my hand. My father was sitting beside the bed. "You're pregnant, Lynn. 8 weeks, he said gravely. The emotional shock was too severe. "There are signs of threatened miscarriage. You need absolute rest. Pregnant, at the worst possible moment." There was a knock on the door. A bodyguard reported quietly. "Lucas insists on seeing MS. Lynn. He says he has something important to say." My father frowned. I nodded. "Let him in, Some things need to be said clearly. Lucas came in. Overnight. He looked 10 years older, unkempt beard, hollow eyes. When he saw me, his eyes reddened. He rushed to the bedside, trying to grab my hand, but the guard stopped him. "Lynn, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong," he cried. "It was all that bitch Tina manipulating me. She said if we pushed you out, the company would be ours, we could control the Carter family's resources together. I was possessed, I lost my mind," he cried with convincing emotion. "Trying to manipulate me." I watched him calmly. "Lucas, first, Tina was your intern. You were the one who crossed boundaries. You were the one who transferred resources. Don't shift the blame. Second, control the Carter family's resources? From the very beginning, you never controlled anything. You were merely allowed to use them. That permission has now been revoked. Third, the divorce agreement and criminal litigation attorneys will formally contact you tomorrow. I will not withdraw the charges. What you did to me and to the company demands consequences. Fourth, I said softly, resting my hand on my flat stomach, I will keep the child, but he or she will have no legal or emotional relationship with you. You are not fit to be a father. Lucas's sobbing stopped abruptly. He stared at my abdomen in disbelief, emotions flickering, then collapsing into despair and madness. The child, my child. Lynn, you can't be this cruel. Cruel? Emotion finally cracked through my calm. When you orchestrated my public humiliation, stripped me of my career, and allowed others to threaten my safety, did you ever think about cruelty? I closed my eyes. Take him out. I don't want to see him again. As Lucas was dragged away, his howling curses dissolved into sobbing. The world finally went quiet. My father patted my hand. Rest well. Don't worry about the company. I've appointed an interim management team. I shook my head. Dad, no interim. I want Mark Chin to take over as CEO. He looked surprised. Mark was our CTO, highly capable, upright, and a former classmate of both Lucas and me, though he'd always kept his distance. He's the right person, I said. I needed someone completely severed from the past to rebuild the company. A week later, I returned home to recover. The business world had already been turned upside down. The board unanimously voted to remove Lucas as CEO. The announcement initially sent the stock plunging, but after my father's funds declared increased holdings and Mark Chen's appointment was confirmed, the stock rebounded sharply, even hitting a new high. Mark acted decisively. His first move was cooperating fully with audit and legal teams to purge Lucas's loyalists and improper related party transactions. His second was stabilizing core teams and clients, especially the Jackson Group. Not only was the contract preserved, the scope of cooperation expanded. Resources flowed back quickly. Clients who had been waiting on the sidelines returned. Lucas was formally charged with embezzlement, commercial fraud, document forgery, and more. All assets under his name were frozen, pending liquidation. Tina, as an accomplice, was charged as well. Her black card was cancelled, and those unexplained expenditures became evidence against her. Public opinion was entirely one-sided. The self-made couple fairy tale became a sordid drama, a scheming man who married into wealth, then joined his mistress to humiliate his wife. I became the pitted yet admired heiress. They became pariahs. My father asked me one day, "The company is stable now. Do you want to go back and take charge? After all, it was originally your life's work." I looked at the sunlight outside the window and rested a hand on my belly. "No, Dad," I said softly. "I'm tired. And I don't want any more ties to that past. Mark is doing very well. I trust him. I want to try living a different kind of life. Giving up the center of power?" My father didn't fully understand, but he respected my choice. True letting go isn't reclaiming everything. It's having the power to reclaim it and choosing not to, because I have something I want even more. A few months later, my belly was starting to show. Life was calm. Every so often, news about Tina trickled in, like shards of broken glass. Sharp for a moment, then gone. Her master's degree was revoked by her school for serious ethical violations. In the industry, her name went on every blacklist. No legitimate company would hire her. Back in her small hometown, everyone knew of her disgrace. Her parents were ashamed and cut ties with her completely. Lucas couldn't help her anymore. He wouldn't give her another cent. Used to extravagance, she quickly fell into debt. Paparazzi caught her trying to steal from a convenience store outside a cheap apartment complex. The photos were devastating, wild-eyed, desperate. A far cry from the confident young woman brandishing a black card in that Manhattan restaurant. Social death. She had fallen completely out of her class, plummeted even lower. One day, I was out, heavily pregnant, accompanied by security, visiting a baby store. Around the corner, I saw her. Tina was rifling through a dumpster, searching for plastic bottles to sell. Our eyes met. She froze. Then fear and shame washed over her like ice. She covered her face with her filthy sleeve and fled, dropping the bottles she'd collected. I stood there, feeling nothing. No joy, no satisfaction, just a barren, quiet calm. Not even hatred remained. I turned and walked into the sunlight. My security followed a few steps behind. Her life was ruined. Mine was just beginning. When my daughter was 5 months old, my divorce from Lucas was finalized. As the at-fault party and a suspect in criminal activity, he walked away with almost nothing. The law granted me the majority of marital assets and full custody of our child. Lucas wrote countless letters from detention, apologies, curses, pleas. I didn't read a single one. My lawyer handled them directly. My father asked if I wanted a quiet position at the group. I shook my head again. With the settlement, I bought a small shop in a quiet part of downtown. I decorated it warm and bright, filling it with flowers and greenery. I opened a flower shop, not for profit, just for peace of mind. I slept until I woke naturally, trimmed branches, practiced arrangements, chatted with neighbors who came to buy flowers. When the afternoon sun hit just right, I'd sit by the window reading or listening to music, feeling my baby's movements. Mark visited occasionally, reporting company updates, or sometimes just bringing prenatal supplements. We kept a friendly but clear boundary. He was the responsible CEO. I was a calm shareholder. My father visited more often, too. We didn't discuss business, only family matters. Stories about my mother. Childhood embarrassments. Our gaps slowly melted away. I had found a peace and freedom I'd never known. Independent of any man. Unbound by any title. I was simply Lynn, a woman about to become a mother. A small flower shop owner. One day, I received a message from my lawyer. Lucas had learned the final outcome of the divorce and asset liquidation while in prison, especially that I had completely relinquished control of the company and was beginning a peaceful new life. He had broken down completely and was sent to the psychiatric ward of the prison hospital. I listened, uttered a quiet "oh," and went back to trimming the sunflowers in my hands. His collapse was no longer my concern. A year later, the backyard of my flower shop was warm with sunlight. I had just finished watering a few newly arrived succulents. A tiny pink bundle, gurgling and babbling, was crawling across a play mat, reaching for the rattle in front of her. That was my daughter, Annie. Mark ran the company superbly. The stock had more than doubled since Lucas's era. As a shareholder, my dividends were more than enough to live a wealthy, free life with Annie. My father had retired, becoming a grandchild fanatic, dropping by at random to hold her for long stretches. Lucas remained in prison, serving a long sentence. Every letter he sent was returned by my lawyer, unopened. Eventually, he stopped sending them. News of Tina disappeared completely. Some said she left the country, others that she was struggling at the bottom. I didn't care. David, the client who once humiliated me publicly, later ran into trouble and tried to leverage my father for financing. My father didn't even ask me. He refused outright. Every insult, betrayal, and attempt to crush me had rebounded with greater force, landing squarely on those who inflicted it. The wind chime on my shop door jingled softly as a regular customer came in for their weekly custom bouquet. I smiled and greeted them. Sunlight filled the yard. Annie grabbed the rattle, laughing a clear, happy sound. I walked over, lifted her into my arms, and kissed her milk-scented cheeks. I had a stable career, a wealthy life, a healthy daughter, repaired family relationships, inner peace, and full choice over my future. I had everything, except him, and that absence made everything I had even more precious, more beautiful.